Welcome to Future Role Model, a podcast that praises the unconventional and redefines what it means to be a role model. It's a Sunday. I am your host, Natasha Pearl Hansen, and in the house today I have Mr. J Chris Newberg.
Hi.
Pew, pew, pew. I don't know. I still want to do...
You want to do the air horns?
I always want to have an air horn around. I don't know what that is inside of me that excited by air horns.
Yeah.
How you been, man?
It's good. This is sort of an interesting setup.
I know. Yeah, I like to put the microphone in my lap so I can really feel like it's a part of me.
Couldn't you just like switch the chair to the other side so then someone could look at you?
Probably. There could be a lot of options of how we could set this up, but
Okay.
nobody, I don't know, maybe it's the chords. Maybe the
Could
way
be
the chords are.
Could be the chords.
You know, chords make things very complicated.
You do complicated chords.
Remember how we didn't used to leave our houses because phones were attached to cords, and now we can go everywhere?
Yeah. You know, when I was in high school, my move was I would go to a house party at someone's house who obviously, you know, why would you go to a house party at someone's something else? But, you know, it was like one of those big deals where the parents were out of town and, you know, they weren't supposed to have a party. And I would always take the phone cord from the receiver to the actual thing, and I would take it with me, but then I would mail it back to them on Monday.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I used to take doorknobs.
You did?
Yes.
That's awesome.
I used to...
Did you return them?
It would depend if I liked the person. There was oh my God, it's so funny you brought this up because I was just talking about it the other day. One of my old directors from Second City used to invite me to these improv parties before I did stand up.
Okay.
But improv people can be pretty annoying sometimes.
What?
Oh man, and these people at this party were really just bothering me because they were just all on and trying so hard.
Right.
And there was a couple people from Second City that that irked me that were there. And so I stole these people's doorknob. And me and my friend just took it off and never gave it back.
Okay.
And the next day when the director, somebody reached out to him and was like, yo, somebody stole our doorknob. And he knew that it was me. He was like, Natasha, did you take a doorknob last night? And I was like, yeah, it's in my purse.
That's fun.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I used to have a habit of stealing doorknobs. I took about 3.
Okay.
I guess that's habitual enough.
Yeah, I definitely think that, you know.
How many phone cords did you steal, you think?
Dozens. Like, I mean, it was like that was my thing. I'm like, when can I get in the kitchen? When can I get alone? Got the cord. We're out. We gotta go.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
But I would literally always mail it back first thing Monday.
Were you a big prankster?
Growing up? Mm-hmm. No. I mean, I suppose to some certain extent, but like, you look back in like with a romantic lens when someone says, "Were you the class clown?"
Oh yeah.
Because anybody who played that role was irritating as fuck.
Yes, very irritating.
So it's just like, oh, look, Jimmy's got his dick in the punch again, and it's like he's a clown.
He's trying so hard. Well, and that's why I never related to class clowns because of that. I found a good balance because I'd be like a straight A student, but then I'd do something like fucked up too.
Right.
And then that kept me balanced out.
Like
Teachers still liked me.
Like what sort of fucked up things would you do?
Okay, let's see. One of my teachers had a Betty Boop collection and a Star Wars collection of cutouts. So she had like Yoda and a bunch of Betty Boop paraphernalia, like lunchboxes and stuff.
Yeah.
So we had, I was her TA, and this is not funny. You could get in big trouble for doing something like this nowadays. This was like 2001.
Okay.
I hung Yoda from his neck in the room.
Right.
And had all the class filter in with Yoda like dangling
having committed suicide.
Yoda committed suicide in the classroom, and everyone was like, that's funny, but like you could totally not do that today. You'd get in major trouble.
Well, I think if you compare that to being shot up, I don't think it's that bad.
No, but you know how people are so sensitive now. Like if you were to do something like that, they'd be like, how dare you?
Yeah, but you notice, I mean, you're one of those stand-up comedians, correct? You do the comedy.
I do the comedy.
The stand-up. I don't think anyone's ever truly offended as much as they're just sort of distracted by how something is completely bothers them because it's based on them. Like if you tell a joke,
right.
No one's offended.
Yeah.
It just you hit really close to something that's going on in their life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's like offended. Like I can't obviously speak for an African American person as far as the offense that they would feel when they hear the word that you're not supposed to say. But it's like, it seems to me like it would be like you would just feel sorry for how ignorant the person saying it would be instead of
Like actually, like
like,
feel
oh,
like daggers in your own body.
I mean, but I can't speak for that. But like, I'm never offended. I'm usually like, damn, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, offended's not the right word of things that I feel towards people. Like I don't ever feel necessarily offense.
Right.
It's more like defense, and it's usually against like rudeness or just in the inability to have human decency.
Right.
Like that's the only time I feel like what the fuck. But other than that,
Yeah.
like I'm
Do you take it more of like a who does that approach?
yeah, I mean it depends on the person. Yeah, I don't really get in a lot of altercations with people. But that's why I say when I do, it was definitely your fault.
Well,
Like
well,
you did it.
do you think that you don't get into a lot of altercations because of your martial arts training that has kind of like made you look at things differently?
Also funny you bring that up. Last night I had met these friends from out of town in this bar over on Cahuenga. And it's one of those kind of bars that's like the old, like the New York style railroad type of space where it's long and skinny and the bathrooms are in the back.
Cahuenga, Hollywood, Cahuenga?
Yeah,
Okay.
Hollywood. Yeah, right up in that area. It's called the Elbow Room, I think it is.
Okay.
So I mean, it's with good reason. It's kind of set up that way. Like it's, and I was about to come out of the bathroom, and I heard two dudes like yelling at each other, and I stopped at the door to listen if it was positive yelling or negative yelling, and I could tell that they were reenacting a fight that had already happened. So when I came out, I was like, dude, I couldn't tell if you guys were fighting or if you were reenacting a fight, but I quickly realized you were reenacting a fight, and they were like, oh yeah. But like in my brain, I was like, what would I actually do if they were fighting right outside of the door that I had to like squeeze out of? Would I try to like ninja this shit, or would I just stay in the bathroom for like 20 minutes and hide?
Well, I think you've sort of well, not necessarily reinforced, but you sort of like, I was thinking the other day, the reason there's not a lot of like, I don't know, I guess like shooting things and like bad, like catastrophe and emergency situations that are a big deal in Los Angeles, because the majority of the people don't have time for it.
Yeah.
So like if like you know for a fact like right now if like so let's say the Whole Foods at Santa Monica and Fairfax, if there was a shooting going on right now and it was taped off and police were on the exterior, you know there would be at least a dozen people who were like, how long is this gonna take?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I have
Like you're
people-
ruining my day.
I have people coming over. Can I just go to aisle 4?
Yeah.
You would totally do that.
Yeah.
And then you were just like, if these people were about to fight, you were just like, can I just get out real quick?
Yeah. Can I just sneak by? Just pause. Like push the pause
Just
button.
hit him in a second.
Yeah. But you know, I've always thought, especially with martial arts training stuff, I'm like, I'm glad I know these things, but I hope I never have to use them for anything. And I don't even know what would happen if I did. Like the only time I've ever used any sort of tactic on a person, and this is like, it was what a rude motorcycle. In Las Vegas a couple years ago, this guy came up to my friend, and we were wearing jeans, you know, not like skirts. We're not club girls, but we were just at this like after hours place kind of dancing, me and my friend. This guy comes up and just palms her vagina. And this was like 5 years ago, before all the grabbing of the pussy stuff came out.
Okay.
So it wasn't even cool yet.
Hadn't taken
It
off.
hadn't taken off yet. It was like pre-grabbing the pussy. Yeah, he just came up and grabbed her pussy, and I immediately just grabbed his throat, like with 2 pincher fingers, and like cut off his air supply. And it was really funny in hindsight because the face he was making, he was in complete shock, but he like could not breathe. And the security came over and they're like, what happened? I'm like, he grabbed my friend's vagina and I'm still like hanging on just with these 2 fingers. And then they removed the guy and then we just went back to dancing. It was so like mild,
Right.
but I didn't even know that I had that ability, but my hand just like went there.
You didn't even think about it.
No, I didn't think about it. I was like, okay, cool. Well, that was
there.
interesting. That's there.
All right.
That's about all I got. You know, I try not to overthink stuff too much. I do martial arts for fun. I'm not trying to like.
No, but now you know you could.
Yeah, I mean, if shit went down,
Nice.
I could be a potential physical lethal weapon.
Nice.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Birmingham, Michigan.
Okay, I knew you were a Midwest. I just couldn't remember where.
Suburb of Detroit.
So you did go to a lot of house parties.
Uh-huh.
We had a barn parties in Wisconsin. Barn
Okay.
parties and sometimes cornfield parties.
Okay.
Did you guys have any of those?
No, we didn't have a lot of cornfield parties.
No?
No, not a lot of
Or
barn
like
parties.
no barn parties either? Were you in like a more a less rural part of
No, it was. I mean, it was definitely suburban, and it
Yeah.
was definitely just.
garage parties? Did you
Yeah,
do
a lot of garage parties, a lot of house parties.
garage parties were some of my faves because
Yeah.
usually you'd end up starting something on fire that wasn't supposed to be on fire, like a gas can.
I mean, I don't know what kind of parties you went to. But it seems as if there was a violent nature to them.
We used to have I used to throw house parties because I'm an only child, so it was kind of easy for me if my parents left. There was no like siblings that would want to try and fight me for a party. I just could. But my friends all smoked at the time, so they would like accidentally set a roll of paper towels on fire, and then like
How do you accidentally set a roll of paper?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that happened to me 2 different times. They came back from being out of town. I thought I cleaned up everything.
Right.
And my dad goes in the garage. He's like, why is there a half burned roll of paper towels? And I'm like, fuck. And I'm well, lucky they didn't ever burn beyond that. But
Right.
like, there's just so much flammable shit in a garage in a Midwest house that I'm like, how did this not explode into something?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff in the garage.
The main way I would get caught is because my friends would do something weird. Like I had a friend that put a bunch of goldfish crackers in one of the light fixtures that we had. And it's a type of light fixture that you can't get anything out of unless you take it apart completely.
Right.
So I didn't notice them. Same thing. My parents came home and they're like, we're eating dinner one night and they look up in the light fixture and they're like, are those goldfish? And I was like, yeah, fuck.
Guilty as charged.
Busted.
Yeah, guilty as charged.
I always left some little piece of evidence behind. Shot glasses under the couch or something. Did you throw your own parties?
I threw a couple.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was more of a go to people's parties guy.
It's kind of better. You're not responsible for anything then.
I think so. I mean, I think I happened to go, I went to a very wealthy private school, so I had a lot of friends who had way more cash than, my family did.
So their houses were more fun.
Way more fun.
Oh, yeah, with pools and
Heated
foosball
driveways, yeah.
tables. And yeah, I didn't have any of that shit growing up. But I had a lot of friends that had that kind of stuff.
We had this one dude whose basement was an exact replica of the Silver Spoons basement.
What?
Yeah, remember the show Silver Spoons with Ricky Schroeder?
Barely, but yes.
He had this train in the basement, and he had like video games, and it was identical to the basement.
On purpose? Like,
Yeah.
or did they just happen to build it
no,
that way?
no,
They
he's
were like, oh my gosh, look at these.
He's like, Dad, I really want a train in the basement. And Dad was like, done.
That's cool.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I had I remember having this one friend. She was my other friend who was an only child, but her parents spoiled her a lot more with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My family, luckily, was the type that spoiled me with time. So
Oh, yeah?
I had a lot of hang time. My dad and I would always do stuff. My mom and I would do stuff, but they didn't really spoil me with stuff.
Right.
This friend got spoiled with stuff. And sometimes the stuff was cooler. Sometimes I'd be like, what the fuck? Because like when I turned 16, I got a minivan that was my mom's hand-me-down. And when she turned 16, she got a brand new like Honda Civic with underbody lights and shit.
Right.
But I had come up with this idea in high school that I wanted to cover my entire room in dry erase marker board
Okay.
so that friends could doodle on it when they came over.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that didn't exist. But she ended up doing it. Her parents found some and did it, and I was pissed. But then I just doodled on hers all the time.
Nice.
But I always would look at friends that were able to do certain things like that, and I was like, man, what would it be? And then now you live in a place like LA, and you're like, these kids, what some of these kids are exposed to, I'm like, how the fuck do people live to be normal in 40?
It's impossible.
Right?
It's impossible.
When you were coming up, what was like, did you have like an initial point where you thought, oh, I might end up doing something in the comedy space at a young age? Did you have any sort of like epiphanies?
I knew I was funnier much before I decided to try to figure out to do something with it.
Yeah.
So my first aspirations were musical.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And, I just found myself I was in an organization with a bunch of people who I went to high school with, and we decided to do a band. And, I was as committed as you could possibly be. And I was in a band with 5 other people who were not as committed. No one wanted to move. Everyone wanted to stay there.
Yeah.
Good lives. And they're like, we like playing covers at this bar. And it's just like, so eventually when that burned out, it started to become more fun for me to be funny in between songs.
Yeah.
So that led to me quitting and going to Second City, and then eventually saying, no, I don't want to do this.
When did you start playing live?
87.
How old? At what age?
87, I was 17.
Okay. So when you started Second City, did you already know you kind of wanted to get into musical comedy? Because
I don't like, I mean, I think you just do
just do what you know. I mean, because I did
Yeah.
Second City too. It was the same
Yeah.
thing. I didn't know what any of it meant yet, but like
Right.
you just kind of show up there and you're like, I have this thing on my plate. Can you tell me how to make it delicious?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you went to the Detroit Second City, correct?
Yeah, went to the Detroit Second City. I liked it. I knew, I think I always knew I was quick-witted, and I always knew that I was fast, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And like, so I took Second City classes, and I figured out, okay, I seem to be able to think of things quicker than anybody else can, which is fun, but I really don't know what I'm going to do with that.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to take a stand-up comedy class. So I took a class to figure out the basic formula for joke writing, and then that's all I did. I took one class,
Yeah.
and then the rest I was like, let's just figure it out.
Just history. So from that point, from Second City, how long were you in that program and what did you do next?
I think I did it 2 years in a row. I went through the entire conservatory program.
Mm-hmm.
Conservatory.
Yeah, I
right.
did the conservatory in Chicago.
Yeah, I think I did it twice.
Oh, shit.
I think I went through it back to back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Just
for
couldn't
fun.
get enough? Yeah. I mean, why
I was
not?
like, why not? What else are you doing? And I was still downtown. I was still in Michigan and still figuring it out. So I did it.
So after conservatory, what was your plan? Did you have one? Because you started conservatory at what age? At 18?
Gosh, no, it was later than that.
Was
I
later
think
than that?
It was in my 20s.
I started at 21.
Okay. 21. Okay. You did a much. What year was that?
07.
07. I think I started probably. No, I think I started in 97.
Dang. Okay.
Like 97, I think is when I started doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, but you were really young when you started that.
It was like 20. I think when I started doing comedy in 99.
Okay. God, it's so crazy to think about.
Yeah. It's
Do you ever,
like 20
do you ever
20 years.
reflect on that and you're like, holy fuck?
No, I mean.
I mean, it's natural to like obviously spend a lot of because I'm at 9 years of stand up and 12 years of comedy, and I'm
Right.
like when I think about that, I'm like, fuck, that's a lot of time.
A lot, yeah. I don't know. I know that it makes me happy.
Yeah,
I know that as simple as that sounds and as cliche and as trite, it's like it's what I enjoy more than anything else.
yeah. Did you have influences growing up, like either in your family or on TV or anything like that?
Well, it's funny. My grandfather and my mother, who are both like career criminals, like legit, like
What?
like
Okay, you
my
gotta tell this.
grandfather was a con man, like full on, like just crazy, but he could tell the greatest stories in the
Ooh,
world.
I would have loved to have met him.
Yeah, he was good. And my mom, same thing. She was like crazy Czech felon person, just like, and she could.
What do you mean by Czech felon?
She would write bounce
Czech.
checks like all the time.
I was like from the Czech Republic.
Yeah, she was a Czech felon.
You didn't
Yeah,
tell me you were
yeah.
second generation.
She was Czech and Serbian. No, so she could charm. I would see her scam people all the time, and I was like, she's just smooth. So,
Whoa.
but not necessarily by saying it's an influence of a cool thing, but it was literally watching two people with these spectacular talents and using their power towards evil.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm going to learn how to do that, but I'm not going to use my powers
My
for evil.
God.
I'll use them for.
Holy
Good.
shit. Did you did you realize at a young age that you were surrounded by con people? Or did-
Yeah, kind of like pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah, like my grandfather was like, he was just a fuck up. But he was funny. Like I was raised by my grandfather, my grandmother, and my mother. My mother was 17 years my senior, so she was basically a kid. And my grandmother had a full-time job, and my grandfather and mom just would fuck off and just like have the best time doing whatever, while my grandmother just kind of held it down. And my grandfather had an advertising agency, and he was one of the original founders of the USA Today.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so he was like one of the people on the board. He was running the whole advertising department.
Was this before he became a con man?
No, this is like right around consistently. He found himself in a situation where he was at the shed, like the launch pad of USA Today, and he ended up selling his shares for 2 cases of Budweiser
What?
and a Cadillac convertible.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah, my grandmother beat the
Oh my
shit
God.
out of him.
You guys would have been so loaded.
so loaded.
So loaded.
So loaded.
Oh,
I
man.
know.
Your grandpa fucked up on so many levels.
Yeah, and because he did not, I stole phone cords.
Yeah, yeah. See, the domino effect or the butterfly effect, whichever one you want to call it, I think both apply here. But
Either way.
so, oh my God, I'm so fascinated by this because I love people who have unique jobs, even if they're shitty ones. But I'm fascinated by old people's stories and like what makes them choose to do the things that they do.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess my grandfather, he was a World War II veteran who, he was a prisoner of war. And I guess he had some torture shit done to him.
Sure.
So it just kind of changed him and made him kind of he was a big drinker. And
Most people that are post-war are.
yeah, I mean, I'm not post-war. I'm still a big drinker, but like he had fun
Same.
with it. He had
Same.
fun with
I have no excuse.
it. Yeah, I don't.
I just love life, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I try not to. One thing that I've grown into that I didn't do when I was younger is I no longer fun shame myself. Like, because it's so hard to not fun shame yourself. If you go out and you're like, you go out on Friday, you have the greatest time ever. Maybe you drink too much. Maybe you don't do anything wrong. You just have fun. On Saturday, you're like, fun shame. I'm the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah, I call it a moral hangover.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
No, that's really good of you to not do that. And I've stopped doing that too because you have to find a way to balance yourself.
Right.
Like I feel like I'm very 50-50 in that. Like I will bust my ass, but then I also when I get to something, I'm going to enjoy it.
I've seen your photographs. You look like you travel and enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it takes a lot of work to get to those places and to set up all the stuff that I do there, but then once I'm there, I'm like I'm going to have fun while I'm here and enjoy the people. That's the biggest thing for me. I'm like I would never go somewhere and not like get to know the people that are there and like
Do you
know,
go by
really feel
yourself
like-
all the time?
Usually, yeah.
You go by yourself. Mm-hmm. That's great.
All over the place. Well, except for the tour I just did with Rachel in Europe. That was
Was that
me and Rachel.
military?
No, her and I did that one ourselves.
Nice. Was it fun?
It was fun.
Did you play for a lot of people?
A lot of work, a lot of fun. Yeah, we did a good job.
Nice.
I'm proud of us.
Hey, good for
But
you.
anyway, back to your family, your crazy family.
Oh, that's right.
So he sold all his stuff for a convertible,
No, he sold.
or sold the shares.
Yeah. For convertible and 2 cases of Bud. 30,
No.
30 packs, though.
Now, did you have siblings?
No.
Okay, so you're an only child as well.
Yep.
So you had your mom as this influence, your grandfather, and so did you feel like you gravitated towards some interesting type of career because of some of that influence, even if it wasn't a negative? Were you like, I want to do something not 9 to 5, but not that?
Well, I had a very, very successful process serving private investigation business in Michigan
What?
where I was making tons of money. I had like 12 employees.
You were doing private investigation?
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's pause that for a second. Put a pin in that.
Pinned.
How did you get from A to B? How did you start a private investigation company? Were you in school for that?
No, I studied under another investigator, and I ended up getting my license that way.
Dang. Okay, so like real estate almost.
So what happened was I had quit the band, and this is pre-Second City. I'd quit the band, and I was waiting tables, and I was just depressed because I think I was engaged to this girl, and
Fuck, that young?
yeah,
Oof.
engaged to a girl, and just like we were dated for 2 years. We were engaged for 2 days, and then the whole thing just kind of fell apart because she's like, "You're not going to be in a band, you know that, right?" And I'm like, "Huh?" And so it was like I didn't know this person who I proposed to. So like we kind of broke it up. I was pretty depressed. I couldn't figure out what it was I was going to do to make money. So I was like, oh, you know what I could do? I'm like, I could do an errand services thing. I'm like, so I basically have the idea for Postmates, and I have the idea for Uber, and I have all of these different ideas, not for the gigantic, huge
Conglomerate
thing
that
yeah.
is now, yeah. But
So I'd be like, I'll make anything you want done. You need anything anywhere, you need whatever. So I make all these flyers, and I make, I don't know, like 400 or 500 flyers. I put on my rollerblades. I go house to house. I pass out all these flyers. Nobody calls me. And the last flyer I had, I went into this law firm, and I handed the flyer to the receptionist, and she goes, "Do you do process serving?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." I'm like, "I'm the best." And she's like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, I'm the greatest." She's like, "Hold on, Mr. Williams wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." Now, I'm like, I have no clue what process serving is. And so he goes, "We need you to serve papers on this guy, Michael Tocco." And Michael Tocco in Detroit is a chief crime boss. Like he's like a mafia dude.
His name sounds like a crime boss name.
Yeah, he's like
Tocco.
Michael Tocco.
Like, what else could you do with that name?
Yeah, he was in waste
besides crime?
management, waste management and crime.
That's what it always is, because I know some mobsters in Chicago, and they were in waste management and meats.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's a life of crime.
Somebody does waste, they're lying.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, Tocco.
So William's like, "We need you to serve this guy." He goes, "You serve this guy, we'll give you $200." And I'm like, I'm like, I had this moment. I'm like, I'm gonna get this guy served. So now, I hadn't worked in a while. I lived at home with my grandmother. I lived in the basement. I remember driving to this guy's house. Well, first I called my friend who was an attorney. I'm like, "What is a service of process?" He's like, "Oh, is it a summons or is it a subpoena?" And I'm like, "It's a summons." He goes, "Well, you physically have to put it in his hand. You have to touch him, you have to throw it at him, you have to put it in his hand." And I go, "Okay." So I just walk up to him and throw it at him. He goes, "Yeah, it doesn't really go over too well, so you might want to like think of a clever way to do it." So I say, "All right, great." So I drive to this dude's house in Northville, which from here, driving equivalent would probably be like here to deep Glendale.
Sure.
During traffic, so it's a good amount of time. I get there, I pull in this guy's driveway, and my car runs out of gas. So I'm now stuck in this guy's driveway, who's no one can get. And I'm in his driveway, like physically can't back up, can't go forward, out of gas.
And nobody has been able to get him.
No.
Okay.
So I get there like 8:30, and I'm sitting in my car. There's no cell phones. There's no. We live in a pager era. Like cell phones are not a thing yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "All right, cool." So I fell asleep, and like I start hearing this bang on the door, and I'm kind of looking around. I'm a little disheveled. It's about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd fallen asleep, and this guy's got a gun, and he's like a flashlight. He goes, "What the fuck are you doing in my driveway?" I'm like, "I ran out of gas. I came here to deliver something. I can't leave." I'm like, "I don't know where the phone place is." He goes, "Roll down your window." I roll down the window, and he's like, "What?" Yeah, I explain the whole thing to him again. I'm like, "Are you Jason?" He goes, "No, I'm Michael." I go, "Oh, well, I'm supposed to give you this." And I served him because he, like, if I would have said, "Are you Michael?" he would have said no.
Uh-huh.
So he's like, "No, I'm Michael." I'm like, "Oh, well, this is for you." He starts swearing in Italian. He starts flipping out. But then he calms down. He's like, "You got balls, kid. You got fucking balls." And I was like, I didn't really know what I had done, but I served this guy with a big, huge, it was all over the news like 2 days later. Not me personally, but they finally got him.
Oh my God, this is so fun. Okay.
And then that in turn started making all these other attorneys think I was the greatest process server in the world. When in reality, I literally ran out of gas and fell asleep. So I leave that part out of the story. And I'm like, "All right, cool." So then and then after I served him, I said, "Could you help me push my car into the street and call a tow truck?" He goes, "Ah." And he totally did it. And he was super nice to me. And
oh, fuck.
so tow truck came, I got gas, got out of there. And then from there, I started this huge business. And like, it was huge. We were serving thousands of people a week. I was following people. I was on the road, traveling, watching different people whose spouses were cheating in other cities and everything else. And I just wasn't happy. I wasn't like, I mean, I wasn't unhappy, but like, I was like, this is it. This is what I gotta do. I gotta have a whole closet full of clothes from the Gap. And like, am I just gonna be like, I had 2 cars, I had a condo, and then like, I had money in the bank, and I was just like, not feeling it. So I was
Well,
just
there's part of that work that's a little bit depressing. Like there's something to be said about not knowing how people can operate that's sneaky.
yeah.
You know, like when you see people in action like that, you're seeing people like sneak around and cheat and all that stuff constantly. You're like, oh, everybody sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little...
Kind of don't need that in your life.
Yeah, and plus because you can never, ever tell someone who hires you good news.
Yeah.
It's like either, "Hey, I just watched for 42 hours your husband did not cheat. Now that's going to be $12,000.
Yep.
Or you're going to say, I watched for 42 hours. Your husband cheated. I'm sorry. That's going to be $12,000.
Right.
So it's like there's no good answer.
Right. Yeah.
And like, I saw some sad stuff. I watched a lot of grown men cry, a lot of women cry. And I just like, you see a lot of stupid, like, I remember one of my favorite stories from it. I don't even know if this is what we're supposed to be talking about, but
Oh,
like
100%. Yes.
one of my favorite stories was I got yelled at by a client. She's like, all right, my husband, he goes, he's fucking his secretary. And he goes, they're going up north this weekend and they're going to leave from his office. So I need you to get him in the office, leaving his office, getting into the car with the woman, driving up north. I need to get them taking their stuff out of the hotel. And I need you to get them checking into the hotel. I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting across from his office, and I have my video camera up, and they come out together. He kisses her on the cheek. They throw the clothing and the suitcases into his truck. They drive up north. They stop twice. I stop with him. I get him kissing her at the gas station. They're being flirtatious. I've got it all on video. And get to the place. She checks in, or they check in. They both get out there and whatever. And I've got video of all of this footage. And I call her, and I go, well, he's here. And she is here as well. And I go, what I need you to do is not say anything for the weekend, so I can follow them for the weekend, so so it doesn't look like it's just a one-off, one occasion. It's like, because you're obviously leaning for custody, you're leaning for more spousal support, so you're going to want to show, because in Michigan it's a no-fault divorce state, but if you cheat, infidelity is illegal, so it sways 10 to 15 points as far as what you get.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So she's like, all right, you have, she's like, you have video, she's like, you have pictures? And I'm like, I've got him. And she's like, all right. And I go, but don't say anything, because otherwise we're going to have to do this again. So 15 minutes later, I see the guy stomping out of the car, and he's got the suitcase, and the girl's with him. And the woman obviously called the husband and said, you motherfucker, I know you're there. I had someone watch you. And so he totally blew me out. And I was completely had. So I'm like, well, fuck, now what am I going to do? So then he started driving south on I-75, and I was like, okay, which means going back the other way. So I'm like, oh, this idiot lady. So then she calls me, and she goes, well, I told him, I go, yeah, I know, I saw that he left. He's on his way back. And she goes, well, you have pictures, right? And I go, no, I don't have pictures. I have video. She goes, you don't have pictures? I go, no, I have video. It's clear as day. It's better than pictures. She's like, but you don't have pictures. I was like, I don't have pictures. She's like, oh, he's going to be so mad at me, because I told him I had pictures and I don't have pictures. He's going to call me a liar. And she was dead fucking serious. It didn't matter that her husband just cheated on him. It didn't matter that I had video, but she made it a mistake.
She didn't want to be the wrong.
Yeah, she didn't want to be wrong about having pictures versus video. And I'm like, oh, lady.
Shows you how much their relationship actually meant to her.
Yeah, it's nuts. But, I mean, people are crazy. They're crazy. So I was just like, I'm out. And then I just moved here.
That was your catalyst, moving to Los Angeles?
My grandmother dying in 2004 was my catalyst.
Okay.
So.
Because she was your connection to normalcy.
Yeah, she passed, and I was like, there's no reason for me to be here.
Was your grandfather or your mom still around?
Grandfather had already passed. Mother passed.
Oh, I didn't realize.
2005?
I didn't realize that was, dang.
No, I wasn't even close with her.
Yeah.
When I say you, did you see Casino?
Yeah.
She was Sharon Stone.
Oh, interesting.
She was nuts.
Yeah.
So it was like.
So your grandma was your.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that a lot about my grandma too.
Yeah.
And she's still with me, thank God. But
Absolutely.
the day that it's gonna be the worst. So you decided from there that you just wanted to come to Hollywood to act, to perform. You just didn't really know yet.
I just wanted to change scenery.
Because you had already done Second City.
Yeah, I didn't.
But it was
really
a while
I didn't really
before.
want to come here to act. I didn't know what. I think I had accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish in stand-up already in Michigan. I'd already done Kimmel. I already did Last Comic Standing.
While you were doing your investigation service?
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize they were happening simultaneously.
Yeah, I didn't start comedy here. I'd been doing it there too.
Right.
So I'd already done Kimmel. I already did Last Comic. I'd already been at a Comedy Central special in Europe, and I just had done everything. I was like, I'm going to go out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's when I came out here like everybody does, and you just get kicked in the dick for like
Oh.
5 straight years.
Yes. Well, at least the first 6 months are like really nasty.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my first 6 months and just being like, what the fuck did I do?
Mm-hmm.
Just like no car yet, walking everywhere. Like,
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy. So you got here. What was did you have anybody that you knew here? Did you have any sort of game plan?
No.
What did you do? Did you find somebody on Craigslist? Did Craigslist exist yet? I think so.
Craigslist did, yeah.
Yeah.
My friend lived out here, and she found a place for me. So I just was like, take it, let's do it. And I got it, and it was just like, it was like Cold Water and Moore Park. I think, doesn't everyone live in the Valley when they move here?
I think so. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Burbank.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. And where do you live now?
Wilshire, mid Wilshire.
Okay.
This way.
Yeah.
I'm pointing the wrong direction.
I know. I was like, huh?
I'm like, just that way.
So yeah, then I came out here, and I definitely just suffered
Yeah.
for years, because if you're a guy, like, I didn't have an agent, I didn't have a manager, I didn't have any leads. It was like, I think I did extra work once,
Yeah.
and then I was like, not again.
Are you friends with Sam Richardson at all?
Sam Richardson, perhaps by face.
Sam he's a graduate or not a graduate, but he's an alum of Second City, Detroit as well, and then was on Main Stage in Chicago. And he was my last week's episode of, but he grew up in the Detroit area.
Right.
And he was telling me some stories about extra work. He said he used to do extra work. Now he's on Veep and Detroiters and all that stuff, but like.
Oh, wait, is Sam, he's the guy who's Tim Robinson's partner?
Yeah.
In Detroiters?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I've heard his name.
Yep. So, speaking of Tim Robinson's show, I Think You Should Leave. Have you watched that?
It's hilarious.
Oh my God.
I tried
There's
to
nothing like it.
I tried to get Tim on my podcast, and like we were going back and forth, and then he just got busy.
Yeah. And that happens. Sam, I mean, I've known Sam for 10 years and just finally got him on because I get it. People are fucking busy and it's hard to link up schedules, but.
Well, there's also a negative stigma to podcasts because there's like
so many of them.
There's 540,000 podcasts.
Exactly. Well, and I enjoy podcasting because it's a one-on-one time I get to spend with somebody that I'm learning things about that I didn't know before. To me, I enjoy that. I feel like I walk away from the situation and I'm like, now I know this person, or at least I know a lot more about them than I ever would have from just hanging out at the comic clubs.
Sure, yeah.
These things don't come up. I would have never known any of those things.
Right.
But, other than that, I'm like, man, there are literally so many podcasts for people. Most people listen to like self-help podcasts or murder podcasts.
It's insane.
And I hear people wanting to start new podcasts and they're like, I should pick a topic everybody wants to hear about. And I'm like, I could not, for me, I'm like, I just want to talk to people about what I want to talk to them about. Otherwise, it's not going to be interesting to me.
Do you know, like, how long have you been podcasting?
This is the beginning of my second year.
Now, do you know how many people you have average per episode? As little as many as?
I don't know. I'm still on the newer side of things,
so
number-wise.
as little as 1, as many as 10 million?
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, as many as 10 million. That'd be a good day, wouldn't it, Paul? We haven't gotten to the 10 million mark yet, but we're not doing bad. We're doing like steadily. But that's like the people I know that are really doing well in the podcast game got into it
super early. But it's so weird. It's possible if you find the right topic and you catch the right moment. Like I've had a total of 3 podcasts. Mm-hmm. First one.
Yeah, I did one of yours. The Big Lie. Great Big Lie.
And then before that, I had like Super Famous. I had so much fun on both of them. But I don't know if anyone ever listened to one episode. It's just like, I really don't. I'm like, I would look at it and be like, hey, can you, whatever, the podcast that I've been doing for the past, I want to say 5 months, 6 months, it is so crazily popular that it's like, and it's like, all I did was, I have an interesting title and I just talk about things that are fucked. But it somehow clicked in Michigan. The majority of my people who listen, they're all in Michigan.
Yeah.
But it's
which makes sense.
Yeah, but there's like tons of them.
Do you want to go ahead and plug it? You can tell people what it is.
Oh, yeah. My name is Chris. And no, you can listen to Heroin Has a Great Publicist wherever you pod.
I follow it on the Facebook and get your updates.
You're nice. We should do a comedy show tonight.
Yeah, we should do. Oh, look at that. We are.
What's the theme of tonight's show?
Tonight's show, God, I guess it's just not a thing. We have a fun time. The last couple, me and Court started this show, Boss Comedy, in January, and every live show has been great. It's at the Comedy Store on Sunset. Until we hit that pocket of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even bad. We still got like pretty much a full room, but not like that boisterous packed, upstairs that you really like. So tonight should be back to normal. Once Game of Thrones was ending, I was like, fuck yeah, that's going to be amazing. Because even when I had Steve Rannazzisi on, he was like, Sundays have been so dead at the Comedy Store because of Game of Thrones. Yeah. And I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones. So I'm completely out of the loop.
I can explain it all to you in 1 minute.
Do it.
A lot of families, couple of dragons, everybody fights, one winner. It's not who you think it's going to be.
Are there tits?
Some.
Yeah.
Some tits or some rape.
If there's tits, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to think about the fact that you came from all that stuff. I always love knowing that people have all these bad influences around and somehow they just chose a path that wasn't that. Because it's very easy to do the bad thing and just blame it on that. Yeah. A lot of people do that, in fact.
Well, I mean, I think, and in being raised by my grandmother, I have a very good connection and ability to connect with women, which is why I'm running for president on, this is my slogan, and I think it's going to get all the women on board. Your body, my choice. That's my slogan.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to like that, especially women. I haven't even run, and I'm already ahead in Alabama and in West Virginia. I'm not really.
No, I know, but I love this.
Thank you.
Ben Glebe is running for president.
I know. I helped Glebe with a couple of different slogans.
I would totally have Glebe be our president.
Well, if the choices are Glebe and someone else, I would pick Glebe.
That's probably what it'll come down. Well, I mean, who knows? There's a lot to happen.
Here's what I will say about Ben Glebe as president. I have no idea the status of his campaign or what he's doing. I know he's working very hard. And I think if he has an opportunity to actually get onto a debate stage, I think because of his brain and because of his comedic chops, he would do great.
I think he would crush.
Yeah, he would do good. I don't know.
And we've never had a really humorous. That would think of the trajectory. We almost had a woman, but we had our first black president, and then we'd go to the comedian president. Like, fuck. Yeah. That just says awesome things about.
But Glebe would be like. Glebe would be like. He would still run a show Tuesday in the Oval Office.
Oh yeah.
He'd be like Oval Office comedy.
Oh my God. So are you a part of the campaign at all?
No, he asked me to write a few funny things.
Oh, okay.
So I helped him out.
You're good at that. So let's talk about you coming to Los Angeles because.
By the way, I don't really think my slogan is not really your body, my choice.
I think it's hilarious.
Okay. Just want to say, if there's any feminists out there who want to stab me.
I always hope, you just hope that when people listen to stuff that they've listened to so many of the things and they understand. Because I've said, man, that's what's scary about having a podcast. Somebody could just pull a clip at any point and get mad about it. Oh, yeah. But they're not listening to it in the context of the words surrounding it. And people just want to, coming back to people wanting to get in an uproar about things. But I've never, knock on something, I have not experienced that as of this point.
I'm so careful about what I text now because I just imagine everyone's screenshotting me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think anybody could screenshot you at any moment.
I know.
And then you're hosed. That's why it's like, nope. If I ever want to, I have my phone set where you hear the message once and it disappears when you give that voice note.
Oh.
So
you do voice memos a lot?
Sometimes. And
you're
then hear it
under
once
the radar. This is how my mom operates. Whenever she's talking about something over the phone, she acts like the FBI is listening to her all the time.
It's not a bad way to go.
And I'm like, Mom, because she'll, anyway, she'll try to tell me some numbers of something, and I'm like, Mom, nobody's trying to get your Social Security. You have a small ranch house in Wisconsin in the city of Janesville. Nobody wants to steal your identity. Yeah. If they're gonna go big, they're gonna go big.
That's true.
So when you moved out here, because I know that the moving to Los Angeles in itself is so hard, and it's anybody that I know sticks it out. I'm like, you already have a pretty good set of balls on you. But How did you get from the move to your first? You had already had how many years of stand up in Detroit or in Michigan? At that
Two or
point?
three.
Oh, that's it? And you had Kimmel already?
Yeah, I got Kimmel pretty quick.
Fuck, that's crazy. Did that set you up for good things or was that a hindrance?
I was absolutely not ready for Kimmel,
Yeah.
but I was young. That's the thing. Like now, like you see so many comedians who are young and who are kind of, I mean, like, 'cause it's so funny to see at this level. You see so many comedians rocket to the middle,
Yeah.
and then from there they either fall, and then one or two will go up.
Yeah.
And but like it's just such a hurry. It's like, and so many people. I find that in the grand scheme of things, just my opinion, everyone's like, oh, I'm playing tonight at the store, and tomorrow I'm at Ice House, and then I have this bar show and whatever. And it's just like, okay, well, you played 6 nights a week, and you made like $22, you know. But like, yeah, on social media, it looks really sweet that you're playing 6 nights a week, but the reality is, it's just like you can't make a living.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you have to, that's why I'm relieved I'm at the place I am now where I have, I set up my own gigs in Europe and I set up my own gigs in the Virgin Islands and I sell it out and I go, all the ticket sales go into my bank account and I can do an hour and a half. But, when you're coming up, you don't have that amount of time. You don't have the ability to do things like that.
Nope.
Like now it feels like such a relief that I'm like, okay, it's, it's not like in 5 years I'm going to look back and be like, that was the best hour and a half ever. But I can I can entertain a crowd for that long.
Yeah, that's great.
And, and it takes a long time to get to a point where you can do that. And so I'm like appreciating the fact that I, was when I first moved to LA, leaving Chicago, I used to do gigs that would pay like $100, $150. And I assumed those existed in Los Angeles when I left and came here. And I had such a good setup in Chicago. I was bartending 3 nights a week, making like $800 a pop.
Yeah.
And I was such an idiot but you have to move at some point.
Yeah. Well,
And so people don't realize that like when you first move here, yeah, you may be getting spots all the time, but it's not income.
no. Well, it's funny because my girlfriend, she moved out here 8 months ago, I think. She works she's trying to get a band going. She works at the movie theater. She works at AMC. And the other day she called me freaking out. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe I work at a fucking movie theater. She's like, it's the worst. She's like, I just saw a comic from the Laugh Factory. I am hiding. And I was like, what? Why are you hiding from a comic?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I don't want anyone to see me here. And I'm like, comics at Laugh Factory make $13 to $18 for a set.
Yeah.
What do you...
Like it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, even Sam and I were talking about that, but like he's known me, even when we were back at Second City, I bartended across from Second City.
In Detroit?
No, in Chicago. So I was basically living on that block. I'd do my rehearsals and I'd go bartend. Yeah, just north of, or Old Town technically, but it's just north of the Gold Coast. And all the guys from Second City knew that I bartended and I would hook it up because nobody really made any money yet, even if they were doing really well at Second City. So it was like this cool, like mutual thing that we had. And it was like an appreciation for these people that worked in the bar scene. And it was fun working in that scene. And it was fun working in it in Los Angeles when I first moved here too, because knowing all these people in the bar scene gets you free shit.
Yeah, it's
like
it's great. No,
Yeah.
it's super helpful, and it's like I was just thinking, there's so many people from Michigan Second City who are just destroying out here now. Like Mary Beth Monroe, isn't she on Veep? And then Keegan, obviously, and Keegan's doing everything. And
Sam,
Tim, and then Mark Evan Jackson. He's on
I didn't realize he was there.
He was on The Good Place. He was Second City. So many people are just crushing it.
I know. Yeah, and it's like, what's the right step whenever people will talk to me about comedy? They're like, should I do UCB? How do I get seen? And I'm like, you know what? Just be good. Whatever you do, just be good.
Right.
Or if you can't, you can't guarantee that's going to be the case all the time, but be good to people and and try to do whatever you're doing well.
Yeah.
And hopefully somebody will find you at the right time.
I hope so.
What was your LA break? Did you take a big step back when you moved here? Do you feel like, or do you?
I think, I never looked at it like it's one thing as a break. I think, though, I've always looked at it like everything is another little piece towards an enormous pie.
I totally agree.
So there was never like, oh, I've done this, so now this is going to happen. I mean, because, even when I did the Tonight Show, I remember the next day I was like, okay, well, now what? Now I've got a show in Long Beach.
Yeah.
So it's not one of those things that you just get crazy. But it's rare that there's. Okay, you look at somebody like Tiffany, who's obviously wildly successful. I don't think you can turn on anything without
Her being on it.
she is like an overnight situation. I think, obviously maybe not, but like ever since she did that movie,
Girls Trip.
ever since that, it's like, what is she not?
Skyrocketed her.
Yeah, that's like one of the, you don't see a lot of that anymore.
No, that was a super rarity. Obviously it's not overnight as far as comedy because she had
Sure.
been in it for like
Yeah.
16 years or something
Right.
already, but or maybe it was even more. But it was like a very clear moment that changed it for her.
Yeah.
But you never know when that's going to happen.
Nope.
Or then you look at people like Natasha Leggero, who I've been following forever. Not like creepy, like following her around like you used to do, but
Right. Yeah, I still do.
right. But I've known who she was for a really long time, but we work in comedy, but I feel like she didn't, her climb to being a mainstream name was very slow and steady. And now, like anybody I talk to back home, everybody knows who she is now. But, it's different, but for everybody, but sometimes I appreciate the slow and steady build because you never lose the career then.
Yeah, I think, to completely agree with you, I think, and this is maybe boring, I always think the absolute, journey versus destination. What's cooler, to have just won the World Series or to fight an entire year trying to climb and claw to get there to then do it? That seems like, otherwise you're holding a trophy and you're like, yeah, I won the World Series.
Yeah. And so, I kind of just, I don't know, I appreciate everybody's journey. And that's also something like how you were saying, God, what were you saying before that I was like, oh, fuck, that's how I resonate with. But just as far as me, like I always pay attention to just my lane and I'm like, I can't compare myself to other people.
Was it your body, my choice?
Yeah, it was your body, my choice.
Yeah, I thought so.
But it's just smart to stay in your own lane and just focus on your own shit because you can't compare your journey to anybody else's.
Yeah.
And so,
We're all lucky to be able to do this.
Exactly. And you did other late night once you got to Los Angeles, right? Didn't you do a few?
Yeah, I've
Done all of them.
I've been very fortunate, and I don't, I just keep it like it's an opportunity to keep doing it. It's like now I'm focusing on. I think I've conquered pretty much, with the exception of an hour special, but I don't necessarily know if that's something that I'm all about or not all about.
But you've done. You could probably do like 5 hours of material at this point.
Sure. Well, my album's been.
You've had,
It's been top 10 for 55 weeks straight on
Yeah.
Billboard.
Yeah.
So it's like.
No, I knew you were crushing it.
Yeah, the people are obviously buying it.
Yeah.
And, it's like my focus is like, for the longest time it was, can I hang out at the Improv long enough till I can hang out at the Comedy Store? Then I got to go over to Laugh Factory and hang out at Laugh Factory. Then I got to drive down to Hermosa and hang out at Hermosa. Now I'm just like, if there's a spot and I get it, cool. If not, I'm going to focus on things
Working at home.
onward and upward.
Yeah, same. I'm
Yeah.
the same way. There's a diminishing return at some point where you're like, how much time, what am I really benefiting from the time being spent? Because that's what I look at as. I'm like, I don't want to be tired all the time just because I feel like I'm supposed to be somewhere.
Right. I love stand-up. It's my favorite form of entertainment in the world to perform. But I don't like doing shit spots.
Yeah, same. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. In closing, what could you put a finger on your favorite thing that you've done in your career so far?
Could I put a finger on my favorite thing that I've done?
Something that you're most proud of, or like something you created that you're like, that was my favorite fucking thing to make?
I think, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't necessarily know if I could say one specific thing.
I know it's hard.
Was wonderful, more so than the next. I would say I'm proud of that I had 14 applause breaks on the Tonight Show, and no one has ever had more.
That's fucking awesome. I didn't know
So-
you held that record.
So I don't necessarily know if it's written, but like I was talking, like I remember reading a book. Tom Dreesen was like, I had 13 applause breaks, and it's the most anyone has ever had. And then I counted mine, and I was 14. I was like, yes.
Let that be on record.
Yeah. Yeah, I was proud of that. I was proud of the.
That's amazing.
I think that I think the way that America's Got Talent is right now with stand-ups is because of the success I had on that show with stand-up. Stand-ups were not a big part of that show until I went on and I roasted that Pierce dude. And then ever since then, I was like, oh, comics are cool.
Yep.
Prior to that, I
you've
was
done
like,
a lot of really cool shit.
Yeah, I've been fortunate. And my next thing is I'm almost finished with the script, and I'm going to sell it. It's going to be big.
Amazing. Can you give any sort of hint as to what it involves?
As soon as you hit stop on record, I can.
Awesome. You can do that. All right. Where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me if you listen to podcasts at Heroin Has a Great Publicist. It's wherever you pod, and I'm under the Chris Army at all social media.
And a website, any tour dates, all that jazz? Or do you do it on social media?
Tour dates, I just said, I don't think I think I have Nebraska in June, and I think I have the Comedy Castle in Royal Oak in August.
Cool.
The rest is whatever comes up.
Yeah, cool. All right, and you can find me at NPH Comedy on all the things. You can follow the podcast at Future Role Model and at Role Model Pod on Twitter. And let's see, what else? Oh, yes, 2 weeks when this comes out, a week and a half, I will be shooting my comedy special in Madison, Wisconsin called I Was Supposed to Get Married Today.
Oh, you have to tell me that story.
It's going to be so cool. Anyone who's listening, which I know I have a lot of friends that listen in Madison, Wisconsin region, it's going to sell out probably in the next couple of days, which is cool. It's actually at my wedding venue
Nice.
On the day I was supposed to get married. And we're using the entire camera crew and videographer that our wedding would have had to shoot it.
Nice.
So it's going to be styled like a wedding video.
That's great.
And the experience, I always tell people as a performer, when I go on the road by myself or when I do things like this, like I'm an experience. I'm not just doing stand-up. So like the people that come to the show are going to have dinner with me before the show. And then I'm going to go have like my, get ready shit. And then they're going to be a part of the show. And then we're going to do a reception as well. So we're going to film the whole reception. And those are going to involve other people's speeches. They don't know it yet. And then an after party. So it's going to be like a full night of
And then
stuff.
Tony and Tina are going to get into a huge fight.
So yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool to actually be there. And then obviously what gets filmed will be fun as well. But
Yay.
yeah. So any closing remarks before we peace?
Oh, since this comes out a week and a half from now.
It comes out Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
Since this comes out Tuesday, your set was so great on Sunday. You were so good.
Preemptively tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna run some new stuff tonight, so it'll be cool to see how it runs in not my wedding venue. All right, guys, peace.